Thank you for taking the time to listen to our audiobooks. We hope you like them, and if you do, please leave a like, share and comment, and please subscribe, as this will help us know that you wish us to make more content. So before we start, safety warnings. Please ensure you're in the upright position. Ensure you will not hold in any hot liquids, as spillages may cause burns due to laughing. Also, please refrain from eating, as we don't want to have to call the ambulance due to choking. So anyway, here we go.
The End Is Nigh. I Googled it. A Beginner's Guide to Prepping and Wrecking Your Shed. By A Man and His Dog on a Wet Sunday Afternoon. It all began on the toilet. I didn't plan on becoming a prepper. I wasn't raised in the wild. I've never hunted anything larger than a discount tag at Aldi, and I once called my neighbour's compost bin a bit ambitious. But then I read a headline. The Coming War. Could you survive a nuclear event? It asked, cheerfully, like it was offering a BuzzFeed quiz. I was on the loo, phone in hand, pants round ankles, and 2 minutes later I was mentally measuring our conservatory to see if it could double as a fallout shelter. That's how it started. Not with a bang, but with bowel movement and mild panic. I flushed, Googled how to prep for nuclear war, and 3 hours later I'd signed up for a survival newsletter, ordered 36 tins of tuna, and watched a bloke called Prepper Steve build a bunker using nothing but pallets and masculine denial. I told the wife we were going to future-proof the house. She said I'd better future-proof the garden shed first, because that's where I'd be sleeping if any more crates of powdered eggs turned up. I didn't grow up with this survival stuff. My dad's idea of resilience was drinking warm ale when the fridge broke. My mum thought having extra custard powder in the cupboard was prepping. We weren't exactly the kind of family that said things like, when it all kicks off. But now I've got a Faraday pouch in my sock drawer, 6 litres of bottled water under the stairs, and a YouTube history that would terrify GCHQ. It's been a journey. A confusing, poorly funded, emotionally exhausting journey, filled with trial, error, and more beans than any one man should store in peacetime. This is my story. Of how a completely average, mildly panicked bloke from suburbia decided to outlive a nuclear blast by reading blogs, buying nonsense, and trying not to get divorced in the process. I'm not an expert. I'm not brave. I'm just Googling very hard and hoping for the best. Let's begin. I walked into Wilko like I was entering a war zone. The list was scribbled on the back of an old TV license bill envelope. Torches, water containers, emergency food, something called a blast whistle. Still not sure what that is. I left with 12 tea lights, a wind-up lantern that sounds like it's chewing gravel, and a bucket full of cat litter, despite not owning a cat. The cashier didn't even blink. She just said, "First time," like it was rehab. I nodded. She handed me a free battery tester and whispered, "Don't trust Duracell." I still don't know what she meant. By the time I got home, I was brimming with self-righteous energy. I'd taken action. I was ready. I had candles. I placed them ceremoniously on the dining table. My wife glanced at them, then at me. "You do realize we have electricity, yes?" I told her it was about being ready for when we didn't. She asked if I'd remembered milk. I had not. You'd think the first step in prepping would be something sensible, like food storage or water filtration. I built a bunker. Technically, I started to build a bunker. Technically, it's a 6-foot hole behind the shed that now holds 2 broken patio slabs and an ant problem. I used the wrong spade. Then I used the right spade and broke it. The neighbours watched from their bedroom window. At one point, I'm sure I heard laughter. Yeah, definitely laughter. Possibly applause when I fell in. I told them I was reinforcing foundations. They asked if we were getting a conservatory extension. I said, something like that. They haven't spoken to me since. Now, seeing that lots of preppers say only store what you eat as you'll only eat what you store, now. At this point, I'd spent £247 and 38 pence. All that on. Tins of meat I don't eat. A solar shower that leaks. 6 months' worth of baked beans. A tactical spork that weighs more than my kettle. And a book titled Nuclear Survival, the First 72 Minutes. Yes, minutes. Turns out, most people die in the first blast. Which begs the question, why did I buy 6 months' worth of beans? I don't know. But it felt right. The family staged an intervention. They sat me down after dinner. Wife, kids, even the dog looked disappointed. "Look," she said, "we're all a bit concerned." "About what?" I asked, while halfway through thinking of how to vacuum seal rice. "You've labelled the kettle boil zone. You covered the windows in tinfoil. You tried to build a Faraday cage out of chicken wire and an old microwave." I tried to explain that it was science. My son asked if this meant we were having to join a family therapy group. I told him, no, but if there is one with Wi-Fi and decent books, let me know. My daughter, 16 going on chaos, had started a TikTok called Doomdad. She now has 1,700 followers. I've locked down the router. They didn't stop me, of course. Just adapted. The wife now refers to the cupboard under the stairs as the bunkerette. She labelled all the cans, may contain anxiety. My son uses the blast whistle to summon snacks. And the dog has taken to sleeping on the water butts like a hairy sentry for the end of the world. I think he gets it. Let's talk purchases. There are good prepping investments. And then there's whatever I bought off that bloke on Facebook Marketplace. He listed it as a radiation detection kit. What arrived was a 1980s smoke alarm, a compass, and something that may have once been a pager. He included a handwritten note. "Don't let them know you know." I've since sealed it in a biscuit tin, just in case. I also bought a hazmat suit. It's bright yellow, made entirely of what I assume are bin liners, and about a size too small. When I wear it, I look like an angry banana going through a zoo enclosure. I tried it on once. Got stuck. The dog panicked. The neighbours took photos. I was trending locally under the hashtag #BreakingDad. Decided to test our grid-down routine. No mains, no phones, no telly, just lanterns, board games, and whatever we could cook without electricity. We lasted 43 minutes. The wife demanded a kettle. The kids demanded snacks. I demanded they respect the simulation. No one did. Becky, the mad one, lit scented candles and called it aesthetic survival. Jake, my lad, tried to boil pasta using a headlamp, a USB battery bank, and pure rage. We ended up having takeaway, in the dark, pretending it was a tactical morale booster. Even the dog ordered chips. But here's the thing. We laughed. We got bored. We argued. But we laughed. And when the power flickered for real 2 weeks later, no one panicked. We had torches, blankets, snacks, even a radio. The kids rolled their eyes, sure, but they lit the candles without being told. And I didn't have to say, "I told you so." But I did. Twice. I found a local prepping group. Online, it was called Resilience Wales, Self-Sufficiency for Turbulent Times. In person, it was called Brian's Garage. There were 7 of us. Brian, host, wears camo to Morrison's. Janet, retired nurse with terrifying knife skills. Kevin, only drinks rainwater. A man known only as Sparks, possibly lives in a hedge. Me, rookie. And 2 others who sat silently in matching Gore-Tex, nodding ominously. We opened with introductions. Brian asked what I'd done to prepare. I said, "I've got 3 weeks' worth of tuna, a leaky bunker, and a dog that can sense panic at 30 feet. They nodded. Apparently, that's good for a beginner. Then came the show and tell. Kevin displayed his composting toilet system. It involves sawdust, charcoal, and no shame whatsoever. Sparks showed off his DIY water filter made from a plastic milk bottle, sand, and what might have been cat hair. I brought my hazmat suit. They called it adorable. At the end, they invited me back, gave me a free book. You might be mad, but at least you're ready. It's handwritten, mostly poems. I think I'm in. Tried wild food foraging. Watched one video full of optimism and bright green things. Set out into the woods with a rucksack, 2 Tupperware tubs, and a deeply misplaced sense of confidence. Found stinging nettles, berries that may or may not be lethal, a mushroom that barked, turned out to be a hedgehog. I collected 5 plants. Got home, Googled them. 4 were decorative. 1 was illegal. Couldn't find what I had. Everything looks fresh. Mine are all mush and wilted. Made a salad anyway. Had to go to A&E for precautionary antihistamines. The doctor asked what I'd eaten. I showed him my plant identifier app. He asked if I'd been drinking. I hadn't, which apparently made it worse. Came home one evening to find the shed padlocked. Apparently, the family staged a coup. Inside were my prepping books, my box of tactical gear, a handwritten sign that said, "Emergency use only, we mean it." I knocked on the back door. Wife opened it, handed me a torch and said, "Only if the grid goes." She was joking, I think. So now I prep in moderation. 1 water filter at a time. 1 batch of flapjacks. No more online bunkers. I've started growing potatoes, badly. I've got a list of local barter items, and my daughter now sells Prepper Dad t-shirts. She's made £38. I've made peace with it. So, here I am. 1 year on, still no mushroom cloud. Still no looting mobs. Still no EMP knocking out society. But we did have 3 power cuts, 1 fuel panic, and a neighbour who traded loo roll for lasagna sheets. And you know what? We were all right. Because of the torch in the drawer. Because of the water in the shed. Because of the dog guarding the tuna and the water butt. We weren't invincible. But we weren't panicking. And maybe that's all prepping really is. Not bunkers, not bullets. Just being mildly less useless than the bloke next door. I still don't know what I'm doing. But now, at least I know why I'm doing it. And I've got a family who mock me slightly less than before. And at the end of the day, I will call that a win.